folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. And for today's adventure I've actually come to a piece of land that I've never been to before for an adventure, and we're about to document an abandoned location, hopefully, that we've never been to before. Look at this old wall. I basically need to there's a river runs through the land and I need to stay at this side of the river. I've actually had to come to this bridge on the road here to get across the river from where I'm parked. And the place I'm going to document today is hopefully like an old abandoned like farm, which should also include like a house and loads of other cool details, and it's a lot more complete than a lot of the more recent abandoned places I've been to. This one looks like it should be a real good explore, but it's a bit of a madness. I'm going to try and navigate my way to it. Obviously I come with the greatest respects of farmers and landowners, and that's why I just make my way around the edges of fields like this. And yeah, the river here kind of cuts back in 90 degrees over that way and then down there, and I need to go over about a mile. And I believe the location that we're about to see on today's video used to be called Corry. So let's take a look at the wee map picture. I'll include the map picture right here on the video. You get an idea where we're going. Look at the depth or the sheer slope here of this cliff. You could call it a cliff, I would say, and that's the reason I was unsure. I didn't want to go down the other side of the river and then discover that it was a sheer slope that I couldn't climb back up, and that's why I thought I need to try and make my little route go down this side of the barn. Wow, what a scene of Scotland right here, folks. So I've come into the forest here, folks, because I thought I could see a farmer or whatever kicking about with a tractor at the road end, so I thought I'll come down into the forest out of the way. And then I've come further down the forest and look, there's actual timber operations going on at this bit of the forest. So I've kind of got that at one side of me and then the farming at the other. I'm just trying to negotiate a wee route here, or navigate a wee route I should say. So on the old 1800s map of this area here, the area that's been done down with the forestry just now, that was actually quarries. This is actually marked as quarries here on the old map, which is pretty cool. Look at the crazy big void in the land here. You can see kind of how it is quarries because there's loads of humps. It must have been dug out at a certain time. I'm just kind of sticking to this high ground, punching my way down, judging from what I'm seeing. I looked at Google Earth and I've still got a little ways to go along this ridge here, along this tree line. The forest should actually jut out once I go a bit further. So here's the next historical item on today's adventure. We spoke about the quarries down at that lower area, and this was actually the original road coming out of the quarry, and then it used to curve around that way according to the old map. And that's interesting to see that. It brings the area to life, this old quarry. And look, here's a bit of the old fence, the old metal poles. Probably at one time there had been a fence around the upper area of the quarry back in the day. Check out this historical detail up at the edge of the field. On the old map it's shown as a bit of a triangle, but I'm thinking, were they collecting like a head of water here? And then I think down there it looks to me like there's some kind of lade, and I'm wondering if they had something for the water at this place, or maybe water powered equipment, or who would even know, folks. It's extremely stormy and windy today, folks, so I do apologise for any wind in the audio. I've actually got the waterproofs on because it was raining when I was driving to this place, so rain and anything's possible today. I'm still just following the boundary between this wild land and the fields, and I just thought when I walked past that and saw it, I thought I'll just mention that there is such a little thing there. It doesn't show much related to it on the old map, but it is just like a wee funny shaped triangular bitty, and it may have been a little dam so they could have a head of water, and that'll be how to this day it's still fenced off in such a way. There is some stonework as well. That's interesting to see that. All these little corners of Scotland are hardly seen and hardly documented, and it's crazy when you've got boots on the ground. It's literally like a little triangle on a Victorian map turns into a little dam, maybe related to the quarry, and we're piecing the history together with each adventure. each thing we see, and we've still not even made it to the historical wonder that we're coming to see today. So check it out folks, the next phase of this adventure begins. We've just made it through that madness. It's like a steep slope down the river through the forest with the field line beside us, which is grazing lands. There's sheep in there, so I was able just to stick to the forest. But then we've got this other madness. It's still a forest, but it's got a different character. I think if I go this way and then turn 90 degrees to the right, at the other side of this forest should be the abandoned location we're hoping to find. And what a mad route this has been. I love the character of a forest like this. It's almost like dark and mystical. And with a place like this, I'm not even 100% if like this location today is abandoned. I've just come the maddest route today to have a look. And if it's not abandoned, I might try and do like a secondary adventure, obviously. You know how it is on this channel, folks. We've come so far already. Whoa, what a madness looking through these trees. Anyway, I'll probably update you once we're at the other side of this forest. Here it is, folks. I can see it through the trees. This is the moment of truth, to see if it's like abandoned or to see what the crack is with it. Wow, I can see buildings and stuff. Obviously, like I said already on the video, always come with respect to like owners of buildings and stuff. Obviously it's just old like heritage of the farm, and I like seeing sometimes old abandoned ruins or even old water wheels and things like that. I love putting it on video and to have a wee circuit to walk through here today. It's been so much fun. This must have been one of the back roads into the farm originally. Wow, I can see buildings with trees growing out. Oh look, that's the old farmhouse. Whoa, I'm gonna go around the front because I think I'm not wanting to walk through. Like if say there was somebody actually living there that I'm not sure about, it would be a horrible thing if I just came like walking around past their kitchen window. So we'll go down this track and then round the front of the house. But I believe this is it, folks. Corry Croft, out here in the lands of Scotland. Look at the condition of it. It's better than some of the crofts we've actually documented recently. See that would have been the wee bothy, probably where the farm, like maybe the cattlemen or whatever stayed originally. A lot of farms had that, like the main farmhouse, and then the farm worker would have a wee house. Most likely the cattlemen stayed in the bothy at the farm, and then other farmers actually had like cotter houses, which were little cottages built for the workers of the farms. That's the kind of history we explore. Sometimes it's the places that's more far gone, as you could say. The history is like this, where it's just a few walls left. You can kind of see the shape. Look, this has been the round mill shed. I speak about this on my videos, folks, where I'm saying the horse used to turn the mill. And here's a great example of one where the walls are still standing. Most commonly on my videos, these walls are just covered over from grass, so you can't get an idea of all that was there. Just think how long it's been abandoned by this birch tree here in the middle. And look at the old wooden lintel above there. The original wood, look at it. To shape the curve, well, it's shaped to the curve, and look, there's extra bits put on there with the big bolts. Wow, the mill shed, folks. And under here there would have been a mechanism to turn the mill inside the shed. Right under here, it's been like a lot of stuff's probably been tipped in here. I can hear rumbling under my feet as I walk over it. Look, here's remains here of the old mill equipment. Look, the pulleys. Wow, now look at these big beams, because the mill equipment was really heavy and kind of state of the art for the time. You can see how big the beams have been there. Even these ones that's on the ground. This is an incredible scene of Scotland right here, folks. Let's punch on round. Look at that, that's the wee bothy house. We'll take a look at that after we've been round this way. Look at it, the shed's been changed and adapted at a certain time. At one time a bigger door, and it's had like this wee shed here. Wow, look at that, the old sheds, folks. I just love it. Look at the old stonework, the way it slopes in at the top. Think how grand and massive this had been, the big barn. And think the mill drive actually comes through that wall that we saw from the original shed. The round shed was to power it, and then all the equipment was at this side, well, the mill side. Look at all the wee holes in the walls. This is a proper old croft. It's so cool. It looks like it's maybe recently been cleared out here, and that's maybe a sign that somebody's away to do it up. So it's maybe a good thing we've come round for a look. Wow, look at it, here's the wee cottage, the wee farmhouse. And then look, I think that's potentially the outhouse, but maybe no. I can see gamekeepers' high chairs up there, and that's for shooting. They sit up there shooting. Yeah, the door's been like boarded up. Obviously I come with respect, I've said it before, like the landowners and the house owners, and I didn't go forcing stuff like that open. I would love to have a look in this window. I'm not even going to try and climb through the window though, because the frame, the condition of that window frame is absolutely kaput. Yeah, there's a wee look inside, folks. I'm leaning in, but check it out, look at the condition of this frame. Wow. Real history, folks. Oh, I'm totally leaning into the bush. Yeah, that's some real history right there. I love it. Little houses, they tell a wee story of Scottish history, and that would have been the house that controlled this little croft originally. Here, before we go round the back of that house, we'll take a wee look at this building. I thought it was maybe an outhouse, but it could have been a little shed, maybe a chicken coop or whatever. Let's have a look over, see what we can see. Look, there's an old contraption down there, some kind of fold-up chair. Probably in more recent years it was just occupied as like a house, and it looks like they've had a wee shed here. But it is the proper old stone. Look how the trees busted that back wall. Wow, I love to see historical nuggets like this. Just look at the character of this cottage here. Maybe somebody has bought this area and they're away to build a house on it, and that's why today it's cool to come and see this before it is demolished or changed. You can see how it's sitting here like a picture or a postcard of Scotland, with the old Victorian farm and the wee house that would have been updated and maintained as time went on. A lot of the wee cottages were little stone cottages from day one that was upgraded with the latest technology. Look at this, there's been a metal pipe, maybe an old washing line. Look at the old chimney as well. I think the side of that stone's broken out. I don't think it's intentional, it looks like a bell tower. That's obviously been... It looked to me like that had been like the bedroom end of the house or whatever. Normally they had like a cooking range or whatever in the other end of the house. Yeah, let's take a look here, folks. Wow, it's got the high chimney. Sometimes chimneys were lengthened like that to get more draw, because in certain areas, depending on the lie of the land, your chimney didn't actually draw properly. Look at this here. It's the old bath. Old cast iron bath with the legs. That's an old Victorian piece there, or older. Look at the detail. Probably at one time somebody's pulled that out, and it's so unfortunate 2 of the legs there are broken off. But that's just beautiful construction. The construction of a bath back in the day was incredible. Wow. Let's take a look at this. I might be able to actually have a wee look in here. Oh no, look at this. Let's lean in. Check it out, that shows how unsafe it is. There's the actual wee cooking range. That's like a fireplace. Wow, there's the main cottage right through there. See the trouble? It's wooden floors, and you can see it's like 1.5 feet deep. And it might look like, oh, you can walk on it, but see the thing? When you stand on the wood, it drops, and then all the walls and stuff drop with it. And it does happen in old Scottish houses. Look at that, there's actually an upstairs, and that's the stairs leading up in there. Wow, what a mad little cottage. It's so much fun every week seeing new things and places like this. Look at the old light switch. So that shows it's had electricity in like the 1960s and stuff, because that's one of the plugs with the round sockets. And it's been quite a big little, well, I was going to say a big little house, and that's a contradiction, folks. It's been big for being just a little farmhouse, if you know what I mean. Sometimes the ones that we see are actually just the original cottage size, but this one's had a lot built onto it and developed. It's been a fair old place. Anyway, let's get back out of here and see what else this farm has to offer. As far as historical wonders go, that's such a little nugget. And it's the sandstone construction, which you see regularly around the areas we explore, because sandstone was such an easy to obtain stone for the longest time in Scotland. Let's take a look here. There's another bit of this house. What is it? Oh, this is all like raspberry bushes and bramble bushes and such like around here. a couple of weeks ago, you probably couldn't even walk through here without, like, I don't even know, great difficulty. The weeds and grass would have been above head height. Look, there's been a wee window here. And what do we have? Look, that's been a bit of the house. You can see into the house from here where the roof's fallen down. And there's been another wee shed here. And look at this door. You can tell the years of use because of the wear on the stone. Look, this is the old thing for holding the door open. Wow, we're stepping back in time once again with today's video. Look at the wear on that stone. And the old hinges put into the sandstone with the lead. And then look at this, it's been a rolling sliding door on there at a certain time. Yeah, it's just all these sheds where the roofs and stuff sadly fallen down. The little historical details of each area slowly goes missing. Videos like this just often keep it alive. Some of the last details, I think this little building at the side of the house here may have actually been the outhouse, but I can't guarantee it because there's no lot there to say that's what it is. Yeah, look at the details, folks. I had no idea this place was here. I've just loved seeing what we've seen so far. Look, the roof's actually been slided. Those slates could fall down. Just the nature of it, the way it's fallen. Wow, it's just been like sealed up for years. It's got that mad old vibe, the old explorer vibe. I've not been to an area like this for ages. A lot of the crofts I've seen up until now this year, they've been really far gone. This one really still looks like a house. It's actually had a wee hole in the wall or something up there at one time. It's interesting because there's a wooden bit up there. I think that's where the electrical wires had been connected on. It's been an amazing little place. I would love a wee house like that. And then you've got the yard there, and then you've got all these sheds. I could hear the Kia sitting in there, or the Fordson. And imagine that, you could go out in the evenings and just tinker away with it. In such an incredible building. Maybe we should go down this way and out that other door and round, see if we notice any details. This will be owned by a local farmer nowadays, whereas I think originally this would have been an individual croft. This would have been outside, I think. I don't think this area here would have had a roof originally, but it may have done. Look at the old door handle. And that door alone will be dating back to ancient times, which is mad. All those little individual details. Look at it, folks, there's a Victorian washing machine. This is another cool wee historical detail. Look at the old light switch right there. It's made out of Bakelite. And that's the same, I think we looked in the end of that particular room right there. Each door you can see the last remains where it's been on its hinges originally. Proper big metal hinges, which will date back to the original times of this farm. I'm thinking 1800s, this place has been in its prime. Now I'm looking at it, the way it's laid out, I think there has been a roof over here originally, but it's probably just been replaced. But an interesting bit with this area, you can see the original whitewash. They had like a whitewash and all the buildings used to be done with that, and you can see it there. It's like a layer on the stone for protection. And probably the outside of the farm would have been painted with similar stuff, but it just wears off and flakes off after a certain amount of years. Look, there's a tyre in there for a vintage tractor. Before we leave the site, I'll maybe hit to go round in here, look at that, into that other shed. Look at this, here's a cool detail of the farm mill that we'll love to see. Look, that's where the bracket had been for the shaft. The mill would have been down here churning, bruising their grain and whatever else for feeding the cows. It would have all been going on. Now look, there's their belt drive. So you can imagine the belt drives coming in from that round shed we saw with the horse going round and round. That's just turning and turning. And then there would have been a flat belt made of canvas that would have turned that. And then it would have been just churning away, working away, and probably quite dusty. The lintel wooden piece above the door is actually starting to fall away there, and the wall above it's fallen as well. Pretty soon buildings like this can just disappear or get knocked down, and the history of them just goes forgotten. So it's cool I've gotten a chance to do that today when it looks like there's been some clear ups done here. Look at that, the old door where they would have bolted it, and it's like it's been painted with like some kind of bitumen tar coating. This is the little shed that's been built onto the side of the original mill shed. And I love the shape of those big wooden beams. It's been a real deal farm, and it's a historical farm, because they didn't make them like this anymore for sure. The detail, the history is just almost gone from this time period, and there's only a few survivors that sit like this on the lands. And that's why today it was cool to come and have a look at this. Apparently back in the day as well, in that rough piece of ground in front of the farm, roughly where that green bush is, it's quite kind of hard to see, but it's actually marked on the map with a W and a circle, and that's where the well would have been. And I'll actually put the old picture from the map on the screen again now, so you can have more of an idea of the layout of it once again, now we've seen what we've seen. So that has been a fun adventure today, folks. You can imagine the farmhouse garden round at the far side. And then the farmhouse has been updated and upgraded. Whereas this particular room here, or like all these sheds here, obviously they've just kind of been left to rot and ruin. Look, there's a hole up here which was probably for like ventilation, depending on what was in here. Wow, yeah, there's like cavities in the wall and stuff, so I'm not sure if there was like benches or whatever set up originally. And then up above that there's been windows or openings into the mill shed or the barn shed. Look at this is that wee building, but I think it looks like it's actually pretty modern. So I'm not sure what the case is with this. It's maybe like a wee shooter's bothy. So I'm now away to be going poking about. Yeah, they've got double glazing and stuff, so I think it must be like upkept and maintained. And we're only here, like I've said already on the videos, to document the things like this which are almost gone and forgotten. So it's amazing to think, folks, probably as farming technology moved on and things, there would have been a wee farm Croft here originally, and then this would have been the latest thing you would have to do to your farm. It would be like, oh, you can get this built onto it and you get a powered mill. And then that would have just been a total boom in technology of that era. And a lot of farms have that, and some of them's been turned into houses and things nowadays, and they still have that feature. And that's what it is. If you ever see that, there's often a round building on the old farms, and in Scotland, especially around here, that's what it always was. Oh, I was going to look in where the tractor tyre was sitting. I wonder what old tractors used to kick about here back in the day. Wonder if there was ever a Fordson P6 Major purring its way past this place. Yeah, look, here's the tractor tyre. It's just random, it's kind of in here. Yeah, look, the wall's built with a big natural stone as well, which is a cool detail. Think how long it's been abandoned with these trees and stuff growing. It's just biblical times, folks. Look at that, the size of the tyre. 16 by 9 by 14. Oh no, 16.9 by 14, 34s. So the boys been obviously maybe had a tractor shed here and stuff. So it's maybe not been so long that this roof has fallen in on some bits of these sheds. And I think somebody stayed in that house until probably like the 90s, maybe not quite the 90s, but maybe 70s, 80s for sure by what I saw. Maybe 70s judging from the round plug sockets. See, that's kind of the thing, often the history gives you the clue as to when something was abandoned, because normally a lot of the British houses were upgraded to the square pins on the plugs. So if a building's before that, but then I often think maybe the person that lived here just kept the old plugs because all his appliances already had the old plugs. So yeah, look, it is interesting. I can see more electrical wire brackets on that chimney as well now that I'm looking. And then there's been a shed here that we didn't look at on the way in, but it's not been much of a shed. What a mad little adventure this has been. The big wooden beams is kind of lying all over the place here, and it's amazing to see the cast iron bath of all things lying out there too. Probably at one time there's been folk in here scrapping or trying to get scrap out, and I think those cast iron baths nowadays fetch a hefty price. Maybe if you metal detected around here you could find the original cast legs and get them reattached. Wow, yeah, that's amazing. Some farms I go to, they've got grey stone and then like the red stone around the doors. But with this particular croft, it's got the red stone with the grey stone around the doors. And that's a cool architectural detail to note with this place. I think it is grey sandstone, and then the red sandstone, you can see the difference in the colour. And you can still see the last remains of the marks, the way it was finished. It had those dots all over it. And then look at the way the grey sandstone's built into the construction of the wall. It's just fascinating to see. They even put bits of slate and stuff in there, or thin slivers of different stone just to space it out. And then look at the big hinges. But another cool detail, look, that's a big pebble. It's been smashed in half. And they've used the flat edge of the pebble as their inside wall. And that's the kind of details I love looking a wee bit closer off at these places, to see those individual details, what was done before it's forgotten. Look at all the original chisel marks on all this. Wow, what a cool adventure it's been. We've literally visited the Croft of Corry, the little farm, and you can see it's been in its prime, probably in the Victorian era. That would have been a prime little farm there. And the cottage has just got so much character, and then there was so much left with the buildings. And I loved seeing like the mill shed as well, still standing with the round form of the stonework. Now I basically need to punch my way out of this mad location, and it's just been so much fun. I love bringing you places that I've never seen before, and with a place like this I think it may be a way to either get bulldozed or rebuilt, and a site like this can just turn around within like a year or 2 years. There could be a brand new house here and all this history will be gone. So to tell the story of it here today, and to show you the photograph that I saw on the old map of it, it's a cool thing. It's a wee historical documentation here on the channel. And yeah, this is my track back out here, follow the river, and we'll say goodbye to the Corry Croft. And the wee cottage was amazing. Like I say, those floors, like, they looked trustworthy, and you would think, oh, I should definitely just head in there, but after years of exploring, you learn how some of these structures are. I've never had one fall down, but I've seen evidence where people have stood on the floor and all that stuff comes down, because it's all wooden construction inside there. And sometimes below your feet there's like an air pocket of like 1.5 feet. So if all those roofs and stuff fall down that distance, when everything drops at once, the roof that's resting on it above just comes straight down and it's lights out. So what you always have to explore safely when you're at abandoned locations, and judge each place just as you take it. But I think we managed to document so much of the history to tell the story. It was just so much fun. Right then folks, I'm just about back to where I started this video. That's been a fun adventure today. It's been Corry, Croft, the wee cottage and farm, the Victorian farm way out here in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. I didn't often give away the exact location of these places, obviously, because of like the privacy and security of the owners. I didn't like places getting vandalised. If somebody actually did go into that house, they could do serious damage to the structure that's still there. So that's how often I say it's just in the lands of Scotland. People that know where it is will know, and that's kind of what it's all about on the channel, folks. We are documenting it here on the channel before it falls down or gets renovated. And with a site like that, it looks like it's about to get renovated potentially, so it's cool to document it today in this wee video. Anyway folks, I'll end this one here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next one, wherever I end up going.